What's going on, everybody? It's Cooper from the Back Pins. Sorry for the delay. I did not get any content out last week. It was a busy stretch going from Kansas City out to Anaheim and then finishing back in Nashville, then flying home. So, just time constraints were the big reason I did not get a video out last week. I apologize for that, but we are going to get a preview and review show in here, 2-1. Kind of a video for today. We're going to talk about a little bit about what happened in Anaheim, moving on into what's going to happen this weekend in Nashville, Tennessee. We're 3 weeks into this team series, and it's exciting. There's a lot of different things that are going on that we're not used to as fans. So it's definitely an exciting time to be a bull riding fan right now. But before we get into the rest of this video, don't be afraid to like or comment on any of the videos. Give our channel a subscription, ring the bell. It'll notify you when we have new videos that get uploaded. It does nothing but help our channel out, guys. So it's greatly appreciated. But we've got a lot to talk about. So let's grab them slides. Let's talk PBR teams, Nashville, Tennessee. Let's start this video off by just talking about a few things that happened in Anaheim at the PBR team event. Is a neutral site event, so no team had home field advantage, so to speak, but the Gamblers win the overall event title. They defeated Nashville and Kansas City. Jose Vitor Leme got on the bonus bull. Nobody rode a bull in the bonus round, so that was kind of a weird deal, but other than that, the Austin Gamblers had a really solid weekend, and it's good to see them in the winner's circle. Some other notable performances from the weekend: the Thunder and the Freedom also went 2-0, but like I said, nobody rode in the bonus round. The Cowboys, Ridge Riders, and the Stampede all went 0-2. That's a tough weekend for some of the, on paper, better teams in the league. So that's a little bit surprising. Kansas City, they shut out Carolina, who I think is one of the better teams in this league. That's a big win for the Kansas City Outlaws. The Texas Rattlers took out the Arizona Ridge Riders, who had been hot to start the year. So there were some upsets in Anaheim, no doubt about it. But let's move into the current team standings. Sitting at the top in the number one spot, the Missouri Thunder. Their record 6-1. They've had a really good regular season so far, and they are tied for the highest team riding percentage at 37.1. They've been really solid to start the year. I didn't think they would be necessarily a title contender, but I did think they were one of the better teams on paper, and they're really performing well right now. They're getting a lot of bulls rode, and they're getting a lot of different guys to step up. It hasn't had to be Sellers and Fritzlin every time. Alvidrez has been all right. Cody Teal's been okay, and they're finding those supporting performances right now. So Missouri is hot. It'll be interesting to see if they stay hot this weekend in Nashville. So this is when you're going to start to see ties in the standings. In the second hole, the Austin Gamblers at 4-3. They have 18 bonus points acquired throughout the year so far. Their team riding percentage is 34.3%. That's not too bad. Austin's one of those teams, they go as far as Jose takes them, and right now they're starting to find some guys that are complimenting him and getting those supporting performances as well. I think Austin's going to be a team you're going to be talking about in that title race come November, no doubt about it. In the third spot, the Arizona Ridge Riders, also at 4-3, but they only have 10 bonus points. They're tied with the Thunder for the highest team riding percentage at 37.1. These guys look really good so far, and honestly, it's just a lot of try and grit. They're not the flashiest team out there. They have a lot of injuries. We've talked about that a lot, but right now the Arizona Ridge Riders are getting it done. In fourth place, the Carolina Cowboys at 3-4. They have 24 bonus points. They've done really well in bonus rounds so far this year. They're riding 31.4% of their bulls, and this is a little bit lower than I thought we'd see them, but this is a team that when they're hot, they're going to be extremely tough to beat. And if you match them up score for score against the other teams in the league, this is one of those teams they can probably put up the most points in the league. If everybody rides the same amount of bulls, these guys can definitely get a lot out of their bulls. So I definitely think Carolina is a real title contender in this team league. In fifth, also with the record of 3-4, the Oklahoma Freedom. They've acquired 12 bonus points throughout the year, so that's why they are number 5 versus Carolina's number 4. They have only ridden 28.6% of their bulls this year. They're going to get Lockwood back here in a couple events. That's big. I should have mentioned that with the Cowboys as well. They're going to get Cooper Davis back here in a couple weeks, but adding Jess Lockwood to their lineup right now does nothing but help. They've got a few young guys that they're starting to see enough from where I feel like they can keep choosing their spots with them, choosing how much they want to use them, what bulls they want to put them on, etc. So Lockwood coming back, I expect Oklahoma to do nothing but improve throughout the year. In sixth, with a record of 2-5, the Nashville Stampede. They've earned 12 bonus points throughout the year. They've also ridden 28.6% of their bulls, and I don't think we're going to see them stay this low. I think they're struggling right now. Kaike hasn't been what we thought he was going to be, but it's early. I just think it's a little bit of a slump for these guys. I still think they're a title contending type team. And I think over time, we'll see them get the train back on the tracks. In the seventh spot, with a record of 2-5, the Texas Rattlers, they've earned 11 bonus points on the year. They have the lowest riding percentage in the league, 25.7. This is not the flashiest, sexiest group on tour. Don't kid yourself, but they've got some veterans that can get it done in the right situations. These two teams, in my opinion, are not title contending teams. That's just where they sit right now. Now, obviously, there can be trades, moves, transactions, etc. But as it sits right now, these bottom two teams, they would need to do a lot, in my opinion, to have a real chance at winning this deal in November. And bringing up the rear at number 8, the Kansas City Outlaws, they have a 2-5 record as well. 9 bonus points on the year. They've ridden 28.6% of their bulls. This is the youngest team in the league. They've got a lot of guys that don't have a lot of experience at this level. So that makes it tough for Coach JW Hart. This is just going to be a growing pains type situation in Kansas City. Unless they make significant changes through trades, etc. This is probably how their season's going to go. It's going to be an uphill battle. Coach Hart knows that, but he's got some young guys he's able to take a really hard look at right now and really try to progress them. So it's one of those deals. It's probably going to be pretty ugly this year, but it's a productive struggle type situation. Moving on to our updated power rankings, there's been a lot of changes with these. I've gotten to see more of the team format right now and what lineups are looking like and who's riding well and who's not. So as it sits, my first team at the top is the Missouri Thunder. That's just hard to argue with these guys right now. They're getting the job done right now at a pretty high clip. It's hard to bet against them. Number 2, the Austin Gamblers. Like I said, they're going to go as far as Jose takes them. And right now, Jose's looking pretty dang good. So it's hard to bet against these guys either. Carolina, these top 3 are really strong, in my opinion. These guys are tough to beat on any given week. Carolina is no different than the other two. In 4th, the Arizona Ridge Riders. These guys have surprised me. They're just gritty, resilient. They're not backing down from anybody. They're a lot better than I thought they were going to be, even with all the injuries. My hat's off to Paul Kimber and Colby Yates. They're getting the job done in a situation that is not very easy to do. So hats off to their organization for that. In 5th, the Oklahoma Freedom. Like I said earlier, there's a lot of young guys going in and out of their lineup. So it's good to see some of those guys. And I think we're only going to see better versions of the Freedom as this year progresses. In 6th, the Nashville Stampede. Look, Justin McBride doesn't want to be the 6th best team in this league. I don't expect Nashville to stay down here for long, but if you're looking at recent performances, they're not riding very good right now. They need to get that train back on the tracks. Their home events coming up. I'm excited to see if Nashville is going to rise to the occasion and turn this thing around, or if they're going to keep sinking deeper into that hole. In 7th, the Texas Rattlers, Cody Lambert. He assembled a squad that on paper isn't the sexiest, isn't the flashiest. He's got some veterans and some Brazilians that can get it done, like Ednei Caminhas, Emilio Almeida, etc. But right now, unless they make moves, it's tough for me to move them any higher than they are right now. And in the 8th hole, the Kansas City Outlaws, they're in a rebuild there. They're productive struggle right now. That's their motto from what I can see. You know, JW Hart's still going to try to win every game, and they're going to pull some upsets throughout this deal. But at the end of the day, it's probably a long shot for them to have a realistic shot at this title come November. But let's take a break from this video for a couple seconds here, and let's talk about Rank Rad Fantasy. If you like the team series and the draft portion of the team series, you're going to love Rank Rad Fantasy. You get to put your general manager cap on and create your own team every week. Week in, week out, you can pick whoever you want as long as it's within the guidelines, the rules of the game. So if you want to take Jose Vitor Leme, have at her. You can have him any week. If you want to take a guy like Cooper Davis, Connor Halverson, you can take whoever you want. It's a fun way to engage yourself in the bull riding that weekend. I've played every week in 2022 for the individual season, and man, it's a blast. It makes it so much more fun when you have a guy you need to do well or a bull you need to do well, and vice versa. If a guy you don't have on your team does really well, it just makes it for more exciting. Play with your buddies, get a little group going, some side betting going on there, bragging rights. That's why people like to compete, is they like to say, well, I'm better than you. I beat you at that or on that day. It's a great time. I can promise you, you will not be disappointed. You can find them at www.rankradfantasy.com. And I will link their social medias in the description below and at the end of this video. But let's get back to it. Next, let's talk about the MVP race. I'm not going to go over this whole list. I've got a visual, as you can see here, but no surprise at the top. Those guys, Dalen and Jose, they are dang good. Jose's been unbelievable so far, but I want to touch on the number 3 man, Alessandro Souza. He's 5 for 8 on the season for 418 and 3/4. When I saw Arizona sign this guy, I immediately thought that was a really good free agent signing. However, I didn't expect this much from this guy. He's been carrying that team, and they're having a pretty good season so far. My hat's off to Alessandro Souza for not getting drafted and really, as you can see, being one of the most valuable pieces in this team series. My hat's off to you. In the 4th hole, Derek Kolbaba, he's 4 for 9 on the year for 350 and a half. It's no surprise Derek can be a pretty streaky guy. He's either really hot or really cold. And when he is cold, man, it can take him a while to bust out of it. He looks like he's getting in a bit of a rhythm here, and that's going to do nothing but help the Oklahoma Freedom throughout this regular season. And keeping that theme rolling with the Freedom, in the 9th spot in the MVP race, Casey Roberts, 3 for 7 on the year for 263 points. Young guy, the 2022 college champion, but tell you what, he looks like he's legit. He's probably going to have some growing pains throughout this process. He's going to buck off some that he shouldn't, just based on his experience level, but this kid looks like the real deal. I think in a couple of years, Casey Roberts could be a marquee name in the PBR. But let's talk about Stampede Days coming up this weekend in Nashville, Tennessee. It's a 3-day weekend. The Stampede are defending their home turf. The game schedule for night number 1, it's the night number 1 rematches from Cheyenne, Wyoming. They're just flipping home and away. So in game 1, the Thunder will be taking on the Rattlers. The Thunder won that previous matchup. The Freedom will be taking on the Outlaws in game 2. This game, the first time, ended in a 0-0 tie. So let's hope that doesn't happen here. In game 3, the Austin Gamblers are taking on the Arizona Ridge Riders. The Ridge Riders won this matchup the first time, so Austin's going to want some payback for that. In game number 4, the Carolina Cowboys are taking on the home team, the Nashville Stampede. Nashville won this first matchup in Cheyenne, and it was a barn burner, 4 Bulls to 3. There's a lot of Bulls rode in that game. I would really like to see another version of that game, so I hope the boys come a riding for that one for sure. Moving on to the night number 2 matchups. These are rematches from the first night in Kansas City, but once again, they're swapping home and away. So in the first game of the night, the Austin Gamblers are taking on the Carolina Cowboys. The Cowboys won the first matchup. They shut out the Gamblers. So, Austin's going to want some payback for that one as well. In the second game, the Oklahoma Freedom are taking on the Missouri Thunder. The Freedom won the first matchup. So this is going to be another good one that I'm really excited to see. In game 3, the Kansas City Outlaws are taking on the Arizona Ridge Riders. The Ridge Riders won the first matchup. They should be the favorites in this one as well. Game 4, the Texas Rattlers are taking on the Nashville Stampede. Nashville won this matchup the first time around. It's going to be interesting to see if they can get the train back on the tracks. That's one they should win on paper. And finally, with our night number 3 matchups, these are Kansas City night number 2 rematches. Same thing, swapping home and away. Game number 1, the Missouri Thunder taking on the Austin Gamblers. This was a walk-off win for the Missouri Thunder the first time around. So the Gamblers are really looking to get payback on pretty much all these guys that they play this week. In game number 2, the Kansas City Outlaws are taking on the Nashville Stampede. They tied the first time at 0-0. We don't want that to happen again. In game 3, the Arizona Ridge Riders taking on the Oklahoma Freedom. Arizona won the first matchup. This should be another exciting game to watch, in my opinion. And in game 4, the Carolina Cowboys are taking on the Texas Rattlers. The Rattlers won this game the first time around, shut out the Cowboys. So, the Cowboys are going to be anxious to get this one back. On paper, they're a much better team than the Rattlers. So this is one Carolina really should win. But let's move on to this week's Grab Them Slides picks of the week. The last time I did these for Kansas City didn't go as planned. I went 2-2, which brings me to 4-4 on the season. It's not good enough. We're going to do a better job this time around. But in game number one, the Missouri Thunder taking on the Texas Rattlers. On paper, this matchup obviously favors the Thunder. I mean, you look at who they have on paper versus the Rattlers. I'll take that team every day and twice on Sunday. There are some interesting matchups in this game. The matchup of the game comes down to Colton Fritzland versus Preacher's Kid. This is a bull that doesn't get rode a whole lot. He's tough to ride. Guys don't tend to get along with him. This is Ross Coleman and Luke Snyder saying, look, we believe in our number one draft pick. Our team captain, he's going to go stomp this bad one. If we find another couple guys to get the job done, we're going to win the game. And I like Clayton Sellers' matchup on Red Solo Cup. That's a pretty rider-friendly bull, in my opinion. I just think the Thunder are going to have an easier time finding qualified rides than the Texas Rattlers. In game number two, the Oklahoma Freedom are taking on the Kansas City Outlaws. The Freedom, as we guys have seen in previous videos, are my team. I picked them to win this year, and they're the team I'm pulling for. But I really like the grittiness of the Kansas City Outlaws. On paper, they're not the most talented team. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. And on paper, the Oklahoma Freedom should win this game, but this isn't a gimme. Kansas City has shown me that every week, week in, week out, they're there to fight. They're there to win. They get Dalton Castle back this week. That should only help them out. But at the end of the day, I still think the Freedom win this game. The matchup of the game for me is Casey Roberts on Ivy League. This is Gino and Bucking Bull. Hasn't been around a ton, but he's put up some pretty good bull scores in his short career. I'm excited to see the two young guns go at it. Some inexperienced guys here, but both have shown potential. I think this is a dynamite matchup. But overall, I just think the Freedom are going to have an easier chance at getting qualified rides, just like the Thunder. It's nothing personal against Kansas City Outlaws, but they've got a lot of youth in their lineup. It does help getting Dalton back, but I just don't think that's going to be enough in this one. In game number three, the Austin Gamblers and the Arizona Ridge Riders. This should be a close matchup, in my opinion. There's some tough matchups in here for both sides. Alessandro Souza's got a matchup that is not a day off, not a gimme by any stretch of the imagination. Griffin Smeltzer, he drew one that's pretty tough to ride as well. The matchup of this game for me is Austin Richardson versus Gangster Time. This is a rematch. In the first meeting, Richardson bucked off at 7.13 seconds. I look for Austin Richardson to give this bull some payback and lead the Austin Gamblers to the victory. I just think that's going to be a key matchup for this game. And if Richardson knocks that one down, I think the Gamblers win. And in the final game of the night, the Carolina Cowboys are taking on the home team, the Nashville Stampede. Interesting matchup. Like I've mentioned earlier in this video, Nashville's in a slump, and Carolina hasn't been too hot the last couple weeks either. These are teams that both need to get back on the tracks. However, I think Carolina is going to have an easier time doing that on Friday night in Nashville, Tennessee. I think they got matched up a little better, in my opinion. The matchup of the game, however, is going to be Joao Lucas versus Mike's Motive. Joao is a right-handed bull rider who really gets along with bulls that go into his hand, not so much away from his hand. This is one that's going to get it on into his hand to the right. And if Joao rides him, he should push that 90-point threshold. He might not get there quite there. And that could be a key factor for the Stampede if they're going to pull off this upset. But at the end of the day, I think Dalen Swearingen and the rest of the Carolina Cowboys are going to step up and show up like they did in Cheyenne, ready to win, riding a lot of bulls, excited, etc. So I'm going to lean with the Cowboys, but I wouldn't be shocked if Nashville really comes out swinging Friday night. So just to review my picks of the week, the Missouri Thunder, the Oklahoma Freedom, the Austin Gamblers, and the Carolina Cowboys. So we're looking to turn things around and do a little better than 2-2. That's for dang sure. With our playing for keeps game of the week, it's going to be the Oklahoma Freedom and the Missouri Thunder. The Thunder are sitting at the top. They're leading the pack right now. The Freedom are in fifth. This is a big opportunity for the Freedom to get a big win over the number one team in the league. This is a game later in the week, so we don't know the matchups yet. I'm excited to see what the draw is going to be, what bulls are going to get matched up with what guys, because I think this matchup can be fireworks. And I'm definitely excited to see these two heavyweights throw down. And our put me in coach rider of the week. It's none other than Silvano Alves from the home team, the Nashville Stampede. This is a guy I completely overlooked in the preseason. I totally just didn't recognize that he wasn't on a team. That kind of surprises me, honestly. Anytime you can get a 3-time PBR world champion in the building, it's going to do nothing but help your team. Whether you get a lot from him in the arena, that's to be seen. Silvano's a guy, he can get along with the nice ones. He's probably not going to knock down a bunch of 90 pointers anymore, but you put him on a nice 87 pointer to the right, he can still get the job done at a pretty decent clip, getting on the right kind of bull. And that's what McBride will do with this guy. He's not going to put him in there every week or every game, but when they get the right opportunity, he's going to lean on Silvano. He's going to put him in the lineup right away on Friday night. He's going to be taking on Sammy in game one in the first game of the weekend for the Stampede. I'm excited to see what Silvano Alves does. I'm excited to see if we see a remotivated and angry kind of chip on your shoulder Silvano Alves for this team series, because he can't be happy about being picked up this late into the season. But I think that'll be about it for today. Thanks for tuning in, guys. It's always appreciated. Don't be afraid to comment below in the video whether you agreed with my opinions or if you have a different opinion, or if you just want to talk about something that's going on in this team series league. Put it in the comments below. Let's get some discussion going. Like the video, and don't be afraid to subscribe. Ring the bell. It'll notify you when we put new videos out. Does nothing but help our channel grow. I will list Rank Rad Fantasy in our social medias in the description below. Once again, I apologize for the delay in not getting a video out last week. I was just really busy, and I do apologize for that. But thanks for tuning in. Until next time, you guys have a great one. Come back and visit us again from the back pins.